Take the box out of the way. See? You can do it now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 3. Just go through our discussion, and then I'll let you guys know what's coming up in our course. Your discussion posts were great this week, so I had you look at a product called Edmodo. Some of you guys have probably used this in your class. I know a number of you said you hadn't heard of it before, but you all made really good points, especially regarding like communication with parents and just being able to digitally manage your communication both with parents and students. And I will 100% admit, if you're not in a one-to-one setting, things like utilizing Edmodo can be a challenge, because when it's not something students are doing every day, it can take a lot of time to teach them, to keep them going with it. So, I think if you are in a setting where you can use Chromebooks once a week or so, I think it's definitely possible. And just know that, I picked this one as just something to look at. But a lot of you brought up Google Classroom, brought up some different things. Class Dojo was brought up, some different ones you use. There is no one right one. There's no one that's quote unquote better than the other. Now, obviously, me as a Google certified individual, I do love Google Classroom, and I love utilizing the features of Google Classroom. But that's not to say that Dojo and Edmodo don't have either great things to do in correspondence with Google Classroom, or just maybe they just have a better feature here and there. So it's all about finding what works for you. And another thing that I think is key, and this is more for my secondary folks than my elementary folks, but think about your parents of your kids. In elementary, when they have one core teacher for the entire day, whatever that core teacher chooses to use as their communication tool, then that generally works out. When you get to the secondary level, though, and students start having 6, 7, 8 teachers throughout the day, if one uses Edmodo, and one uses Class Dojo, and one uses Google Classroom, and one doesn't use any online resource, sometimes that can get to be a little frustrating for parents, because they don't know where to look for certain things, or they feel like they have to spend 15 minutes just trying to figure out what their child's doing. So something to keep in mind for secondary is either looking at adopting a school-wide expectation of what people will use, or at least on a team or a department level, I would urge you to decide together of a tool that you can use, just to make it easier and more accessible for parents. So what's coming up in our class this week? Well, we're going to have a number of new projects that are being introduced, and they kind of have different due dates. One of which is going to be coming up, and then a couple that are actually later on in the semester, but I want you guys to start thinking about them now and maybe start working on them. So the first new project that is coming up, that's going to be the one that's most quickly due, is a Google Tools project. And I have everything listed on Canvas as to what you need to do with that. But basically, you're going to choose a tool made by Google, and then go ahead and talk about it, use it, and then create a presentation on what that tool can do for education. I know my one specific there is no PowerPoint. Obviously, if we're doing a project on Google Tools, that doesn't mean you have to use Google Slides. You could find something else to do a presentation over, maybe a screencast, something like this, maybe a Prezi, something, but no PowerPoint. We're gonna do things a little differently. And then the other two are, I'm looking at my notes down here. The other two are a teacher website that you're going to work on throughout this course of building a website, specifically in Google Sites. And the one, when you look at my video of how to utilize Google Sites and examples of the teacher website, you will see that they're in the classic Google Sites format. I will tell you though, if you want to do the new Google Sites, some of you probably will know what I'm talking about. Google Sites in the last year or so has updated Google Sites, but they haven't switched it over completely yet. You can do it there as well, as long as all the requirements are there, the different pages are there. I'm okay with that. I think there's a lot of potential for using the new Google Sites, but if you have used the classic Google Sites, or you just are more comfortable doing exactly the way the instructions say, you are more than welcome to use the classic Google Sites. The classic Google Sites, there's nothing wrong with it. It just looks a little dated to some of the websites that we're used to in our day and age. And then the last one that we're introducing this week is the ISTE Standards ePortfolio Project Assignment. This is also on a Google site, and what it is you're going to see a link to a template. You're going to get to make a copy of that template of a website, so it's literally going to create it for you. And then really all you're doing is you're going to put your projects in that you're creating throughout this class. Every project in this class meets the requirements for this portfolio. That's our way of trying to help you out, so you don't have to go create a bunch of different things to finish this. But everyone needs just a brief reflection as to how this applies in education and that sort of thing. So you will find, again, you'll find all the spelled out directions and things like that on those three things coming up. Make sure you continue work on the WikiWeb 2.0. That one will be due this coming weekend, so let's make sure that gets done. And you guys, there will be a new discussion this week, and just keep up all the great work. And as always, just reach out to me if you need any assistance.